Now let us move forward. We have our very special person, our chief guest, rotating Manpreet Singh, Ambassador, Indian Knowledge System, Ministry of Education, Govt of India, Brand Ambassador, Anuvadini Foundation, Ministry of Education, President, Indian Chamber of International Business. I request everybody to please give a huge round of applause for Manpreet sir. And I request Manpreet sir and Manpreet sir to please come here and Manpreet sir to please accord sir with the global welcome. Welcome sir to this Transformative Education Summit. And I request you to please come here with guys and enlighten the audience about the 𝗖𝗍𝗔 and your incredible work you have been doing. Please sir.
Morning everyone. Hi. So we are educators and at the end of the day we should be used to this since a lot of years. Good morning teacher, good morning ma'am and all that. We love to hear but we should also speak once in a while. So first of all, thank you so much Transformative Media and the entire team, Manpreet ji, 𝗙ecie, for having me here today, and to all you lovely people who are here today early in the morning to listen to something that we do in our daily lives. It is very interesting when somebody tells me to talk about education, where my educational personal journey has not been that great. So I was always an average student. But I tell everyone, if an average student can reach here, imagine what a well-educated person can do. So that's how the journey was and the journey is still continuing. And also I would like to compliment 𝗙ecie for making so many principals smile at the same time. It's a very rare thing. We all face our schools in the morning. We all know how we look at ourselves in the mirror. And some people don't like doing that. Actually, most of us don't like doing that, but it's part of the job, I must say. Because if you become soft-hearted on the surface, it's not such a good thing. So it's like we're leading the next generation, we're leading the children, and that's what is at the back of our mind when we have these. So it's a pleasure to be here amongst all of you all. And I represent the Ministry of Education when it comes to the Anuvadini project and the Indian knowledge systems. I'll give a brief about the Indian knowledge systems, what it is and how it evolved in the last few years, and what is the vision of the government and how we as educators, principals, teachers can take an advantage of that. Very recently the NEP 2020 came into force. There was a lot of skepticism as to what it is going to be, how it is going to be. And even now, after nearly 3 or 4 years of the project being conceived, there is still a lot of information that we are still thinking that what it is really about. It is coming into force, but how to actually use it for your own benefit, for the benefit of your institution, for the benefit of the students. And that is what makes all the difference. The Indian knowledge systems is part of the NEP 2020, and the way it is being implemented is that it is being kept as open-ended. Now, when we talk about Indian knowledge systems, this was the vision of the Prime Minister of India, where he said that we have हमारी धरोहर जिसको कहते हैं, and we had instances where we know since centuries that हल्दी में दूध डालेंगे तो हम get well soon and all these things. These are traditional knowledges. But some company in the US patented this and there was a big case on it and we got it back. And then we realized that it's time that we reclaim our heritage, we reclaim our knowledge and we use it for our own benefit and we give it to the world. So among many of these projects, the 𝗖𝗍𝗔 system came into being for these kind of products. So basically it is to reclaim our knowledge, to reclaim and to create documentation once again, because all this is lost. So the government is now giving a lot of funds, grants for research projects to schools, colleges. You all know about the Atal Innovation Mission which was there, which came about with a lot of incubation centers, the small school institutions that were tying up for innovation and incubation. So this is something similar. There are a lot of grants available for the 𝗖𝗍𝗔 also. They also have 𝗖cie labs, 𝗖cie research projects, and not only for colleges, it is also for schools. You can come up with 𝗖cie lab. There's a grant getting up to 50 lakhs. You can check the 𝗖cie website. They keep coming up with a lot of similar projects that come up. And which educational institute does not need funds at the end of the day? We all need funds. We are all starved of funds. Of all the good that we want to do, without money, so that's a beginning point. So, and when there is money, I think we should take it. It's as simple as that. So, that being said, when we talk about the 𝗖cie system, the whole idea is very holistic. Holistic means it's not just about pure education. It is about metallurgy. It is about sciences. It is about astronomy, mathematics. We all have heard the ancient things like maths evolved from India, astronomy came from India, astrology came from India, but a lot of that content is lost. So if any school, college, educational institution wants to do a research on its own or privately or in partnership with private entities, they can take this up and make students a part of that. Why I am saying students is because at the end of the day, we need the next line of generation. It should not be that 10 years later we have qualified teachers but unqualified students. We should leave a legacy. At the end of the day, we should have, like today, we might take about 5 years to learn what 𝗖cie is all about. But what after that? What is the next stage? So if now we, this is something called, you all know what is outcome-based education. And the concept of educating the educators. So these are the two things that come together under the 𝗖cie banner. It is part of the NEP 2020. This is how you can actually use the system for your own benefit. I tell everybody that we are in the business of education. Education is a business, you have to realize that. But doing the education, imparting the education is not the business. That is your responsibility. There are other ways to evolve the business of education. There's ancillaries, there's publication, there's books, there's research, there's patents, there's working with industry. And when I say working with industry, not necessarily means with colleges and higher education institutions. It is with schools also. When schools partner with industries for something as simple as factory visits, or visit to industrial areas, visit to technology centers, visiting to government offices. So these are the things that open up the mind of the child. We are all pushing our students to extracurricular activities. We take pride in saying that we are talking in sports, we are talking dance competition. A lovely performance by the students. So these are the things that we have been doing traditionally. But now is the time to evolve the system of education to do things differently, to open up the minds of the students and not just stick to rote learning. So as a child, if you really ask me what I have done is, I have done rote learning. So we used to be very, like I said, I was an average student. I talk with examples, so please bear with those. So what happens is when I was in school, 15 दिन पहले पढ़ाई करके पास हो गया 70% आ गया बहुत हो गया. कभी-कभी तो 40 आ गया तो भी बहुत हो गया, but that's different. So what happens is that is not education. But I am very proud of what I did was because I was an all-rounder student. I used to go for sports, I used to go for all extracurricular activities. My teachers used to tell me, "You are jack of all trades, master of none." I said it is better than being master of one and nothing else. So it all depends because when you come into real life, today when I look at myself, if I was just concentrated on one subject or one sector, I would have been a research scholar, no doubt about that. But most of us in real life are not research scholars. We have to live as part of society. We have to ensure that we are able to tolerate the pressures of society. We see our children today, they are not what we used to be. They are very delicate and we have pampered them. I don't blame anybody else. I really blame the educators and the parents today. When we were children, हमको डंडा मारते थे ना स्कूल में, तो घर जाके और एक पढ़ता था कि तेरी गलती. But now the parents come and say, हाथ कैसे लगाया हमारे बच्चों को? So it is, I guess the fault is both ways. We have also worked wrong, but I think it is time to ensure that we have a tough belief coming up. This generation of students that we are handling as educators, is a generation that has got a very short attention span. And the biggest problem and challenge to education is a short attention span. And that results in numerous other problems, and part of the responsibility is to internet to that. We are now seeing cases where a lot of countries, as a case just yesterday, France has decided to ban mobile phones for children below 15 years of age. And I think it's a very good initiative because that is creating a lot of problems. In fact, like I said, I talked with examples. My daughter is 12 years old, and I gave her a phone 6 months back. So my wife was like, "You're spoiling your child." I was like, "Hey, she has to know how to use it." And within a month, I realized that it was my mistake. So, but you give a fataka to a child and expect it not to use it is also your mistake. But yes, give them the exposure, but don't overdo it. So giving a leeway, they should know what is happening in the world, but you should control what they are going through, because something like Instagram, Reels, forget the children, even when we started, it's very difficult to stop. And it is, if we at our age are not able to control that, how can we expect our children to do that? So that is something that we need to nurture. But yes, we as educators need to explain to the children that this is also an addiction. So we know about a lot of addictions, but digital addiction is creating a bigger problem than the other kind of addictions. So as educators, I think it is our responsibility to take charge of that and explain to them that being a content consumer is different from being a content creator. Because the moment they decide that they want to become content creators, then the thought process becomes creative. Rather than just flipping, they start thinking on, okay, what if I also do something similar? So your thought process becomes creative. The child starts thinking in different directions at a much earlier age. Because otherwise, we realize that the child is in the 8th or the 9th grade or the 10th grade, it is too late to mold a thought process. And at that age, 14, 12, 13, 14, 15, they are by nature rebellious. So as educators, we have to ensure that we tell them about our ancient history, our knowledge. Of course, we have our history books and civics books, that's different. But that is not outdated content. With NEP 2020, creating new syllabus, creating new books, creating new content has been allowed. There's credits that are given for that. The schools and colleges have the liberty to modify the curriculum, add subjects, use the things that will actually benefit the children, and use that as a differentiator in your schools. How can you get your institution to be better is a way that every principal looks at. And the moment you say that, okay, our school is doing this part differently, we are giving practical knowledge, we are giving your knowledge of ancient India, that India was. But we actually have documented books of lot of these books. Why can't we include that as part of the curriculum? I come from a convent school background, so we used to have books like moral science and all of that. The DAV schools has got 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗁 𝗪𝗂. So all of these things are there, but we are not taking all that seriously. In fact, I think that schools should now have content which work on AI, machine learning, and not very advanced, but maybe a 5th grader or a 6th grader, because they're anyways using it, and they don't realize what they're doing. For example, if somebody is on Instagram and they are liking something, the entire phone takes that data and all the apps take that content and they start pushing that content to you. But a student of 10 years, 12 years, 14 years does not know that. That his mind is being forced to like things. So when we try to tell these children that, oh, this is just technology, this is just artificial intelligence, it is not real intelligence. So you can actually train. So you can, that is why I am very pro schools that have newspapers as part of their daily routine. Many schools do that, they give it to the students, and because newspaper is not controlled to a certain extent, but you read everything from front to back. You are not given content, you choose what you want to read. You want to read the sports section, you want to read the media section, you want to read the news section. It is your wish. So this is what we have to tell our children. What is the difference between print media and the digital media? It is corporations that push the content to you. It is not your mind that is doing the creative work. So we need to tell our students, and as principals, as educators, first we have to know that ourselves. So the reason for including artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these as part of the main curriculum will help your students to become more creative. That is point number one. It will help you get more business for your institution because you are doing something different. You are giving content which other students may or may not get. Not only this, there are a lot of other sections that work. Like the 𝗖cie system, where I was talking about astrology. Imagine a 5th grader or 6th grader talking about astrology, astronomy. These are the things that you can create and be a differentiator in your education sector. And some people or some managements might say, oh, what are you doing that? Why are you doing this? But it is up to us as educators to convince them, to explain to them, this is how it will change the institution. And like I said, 𝗙liche 𝗹𝗹𝗁𝗁. So this is a driving force for getting more quality students, higher paying students, and of course you have to do the social service of taking care of the lower end of the society also. That's a different issue altogether. So when we talk about education, when we talk about creating content and creating curriculum, Manpreet ji, you are in publication also, so you know the importance of creating content. We were discussing that when we were children, 3 साल तक 3 prime minister change हो गए, अभी भी हम पढ़ने जवाहरलाल नेहरू हैं. So we've seen those days also. So updating content and curriculum is one of the most important things that is coming up today. And when we realize that this is the differentiator that we will be working for. So when we talk about outcome-based education, this is what it really is. So the ministry, when we talk about the Indian knowledge system, is we want you to incorporate that as part of your curriculum. There's only one official textbook so far, which is written by a professor at IIM, but that is advanced, and that is for colleges. So even if you can come out with short notebooks, I would say textbooks, I will say notebooks maybe 20 pages, 30 pages, have it like an extra credit course or an optional subject, like you might have moral science or mathematics or something like that. These kind of things, of course, you will get accreditation for that. The ministry also appreciates that. Please do keep informing the boards when you are doing this, because the boards take note of this. They give you additional benefits when you are implementing these systems. And this is what actually trickles down to improvement of the education system. And when you look at that improvement, at the end of the day, you are evolving as an educator also. Because to teach something, first you have to know something. It's as simple as that. And when you realize that, when you go through that, when you read the content, you realize that how it is making a difference. Vedic mathematics. Can anybody tell me how many students are actually teaching this here, just by a quick raise of hands? Vedic mathematics. So we have a few students that are doing that. So that is a differentiator. So imagine a school children doing Vedic mathematics, calculating the kind of numbers that you can't even imagine. It's like a 10-digit number multiplied by a 10-digit number. I mean, I can never think of that. But in that child is capable of doing that. And we have seen that they are. So why can't they learn astronomy, astrology, metallurgy? Why not? So it is that we are restricting the mind of the child and not that the child is not capable of it. If a 6-month child can know how to learn use a mobile phone, I think we are underestimating our children. So this is a classic example that I give. Sometimes even I tell my daughter, hey, I can't find this, and she's like, Papa, you don't know this also. So that means that either I'm not interested or I really need to learn. So it's as simple as that. So when a small child can teach you one thing, why can't you teach you the other? We have a lot of prodigies. I'm not talking about prodigies. I'm talking about the average student. And it is this average student which is the mass market for any educational institution. So for example, Vedic mathematics is a classic example. Maybe in Chandigarh 10 schools are giving out of 200. But those 10 schools highlight that, saying that, oh, we are doing this. And that gives them students at the end of the day. And that's what matters. The numbers matter in the end, but how to bring those numbers also is ethically has to be correct. There are a lot of other ways, but why do that? when you can give quality education at a quality price to an audience that really wants to get something out of it. We all, we are all parents also, we have been working with, we all want the best for our children. When we want the best for our children, but when we go and sit on that chair, our mind changes from those 12 hours. I've seen that myself because I've been sitting in those chairs. But when we bring out a heart at that time, then we realize that we might, like I said at the beginning, we might be soft on the inside, but we have to project the heart out of Nariyal, classic Nariyal example. But we have to never forget that we are soft inside. Never forget your real self, that's who you are. And of course, there's going to be good experiences, there's going to be bad experiences, successful ones, unsuccessful ones. But you need to try. You need to try. Maybe, for example, you talk about, let me talk about IPS itself. When you talk about implementation of IPS, maybe you start with Vedic mathematics, for example. You have just two students picking up that course. But because students don't know. I'll give another classic example of my daughter. So I have been a sports person all my life. And my daughter is, I shouldn't say lazy, but near lazy. So the moment anything comes up in school that is related to sports, she does not even inform me. She quietly tells her mother, "Mummy, wo aaya hai, main nahi kar rahi." Because she knows if she tells that, she'll be forced to do it. But the point is, she might not like that, but she might go for drawing, creativity and all that. So we should ensure that when we also try these experiments, maybe Vedic mathematics will not work, artificial intelligence might work. So there's always going to be failures, there's always going to be successes. But if you try, only then. So my suggestion to you as educators, as principals is that go to your management, implement these courses, small courses. Maybe you can experiment with 5 classes in a session, 10 classes in a session, and see how it goes. It can be all about experimenting, because if we don't experiment with our children, who will? It's as simple as that. And when the management sees that, okay, yes, this course had 2 students, now it has 20, there's possibilities of growth. And growth is what matters. See, initially, nobody will get numbers for anything. A new school, for example, comes up to prove themselves, or to prove what they are capable of, or they have good teachers, or they have good principals. It takes 2 to 3 years until the first batch comes out and says, "अरे नहीं, ये teacher बहुत अच्छी है. मेरे principal ने हमको ये college में भेजा, ये school में भेजा for inter-college competition. We realize they're better than 10 other schools." So this is when you will actually experiment and do something about it. Next suggestion that we, from the ministry point of view, would like to say, please collaborate amongst yourself. The days of competition is gone. Really, you need to come together, maybe 5 schools at a time, 10 schools at a time, have inter-school competitions on these topics, which will change your business of education. When you come together and implement things together, the biggest advantage is the cost drive. It goes down drastically. You can take it by location, you can take it, or maybe you have less students for a particular course. 3 nearby schools can come together, they can have common classes, optional classes. So these kind of things will help you evolve together, and then you will realize that there are many synergies. And you will get a lot of synergies, trust me. If we leave our egos aside, trust me, it makes a lot of difference. Everybody might not be compatible with each other, let me tell you that. Also, we have to realize that all of us are not IITs, IIMs, Harvards and Cambridges. Because they took hundreds of years to reach where they are. That is what we have to realize. Whenever I speak a lot of colleges, universities and schools to students. So when I speak to students, they get up and say, "Are we want to become Bill Gates?" I said, "Very good. So in how many months, years, what do you plan to do?" "Within 3 years, I will become Bill Gates, sell my company and go." I was like, "Okay, but Bill Gates took 30 years to reach where he is, and he started from a garage." नहीं, but those days were different. आजकल तो सब ऑनलाइन है, सब कुछ मैजिकली आता है, सब मैजिकली नहीं आता मेहनत करती है. So the point is you have to show the reality also, that is equally important. Everybody wants to become Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, but it has been decades, not years, for them to reach where they are. We see the successes, we don't see the failures. When you talk about Amazon, they have had 100 plus paid inventions and websites after Amazon actually became successful. So we need to tell the students about these cases that failure is not a problem. It is a learning. We used to learn as children, stepping stone to success. We have to tell this to our children also, and we have to implement it ourselves. Like I said, all the courses might not work well for you, but if you don't try, you never will find an alternative for that. So these are some things that we really need to go through to understand ourselves first. That is the reason I'm saying 5 institutions, 10 institutions come together, have once in a month a meeting where they decide, okay, let's implement this, let us create content. When I say create content, nobody is stopping you under any 2020 to create content. You create your own literature, you create your own book. You circulate with your own students. Nobody is stopping you from doing that anymore. And that is where you can bring in the latest technologies which maybe nobody is doing. There's no harm in experimenting. We fail to understand or to remember that it is okay to fail, even as adults. We are like, "Arey, ye ho gaya to meri naukri chali jayegi or management kya karegi." But take your management into confidence. Nobody is going to say no. We feel that if we do something and if it doesn't work, then what? But rather than that, you first go to your management and say that we want to try these 3-4 things, 3 out of 3, 2 might fail. But we want to try. I am sure you will get the support. Also go to your nearby institutions and say, we are going to try these 3 things. Would you like to partner with us on that? And what happens is, when I was talking about Harvard and IIMs and all, what happens is, we all aspire to reach that level, but we don't do things to reach those levels. I am a student from IIM Bangalore. I really know the difference. People used to ask me, "Are you different kya kiya?" So I'll give you one example which was different. What I realized what is different here. Because I had my age close and everybody was doing an MBA. Now everybody is doing AI, but anyways. So one of our professors came to us one day and said the subject was art of negotiation. And they gave us a very small paragraph, I think 5 or 6 lines, which was a problem statement saying that this is the dispute between these two people. And you have to take insight and you have to negotiate this. This was given to us at 8 o'clock in the morning. And they said, come back to us at 4 o'clock in the evening. Like, I mean, so then we were like, sir, 4 o'clock in the evening, we are going somewhere or we are doing any other activity. No. The whole day is given for these 6 lines. So we were like, then we thought, kuch to hoga. So they must have had something in mind. Because students must have smart. But anyways. So they gave us that. By 11 o'clock, we were done with whatever we could do. And then there was a lot of masti happening, and after 1.5 hour lunch break, the professor comes back again. He says, you are in IIM, right? So if you given a full day, think about why you are here. So please go back and rework everything. So we were like, okay. So hoga kuch content, maybe something, or everybody goes back, sits together, makes their notes and everything. Again, 3 o'clock. So we were like, okay, 6 lines आप कितना निकालो? At 4 o'clock, the professor comes and says, okay, this is team A, this is team B, everything ready? Yes. Here are your notes. Here. You are going to negotiate this part. Yes. You are going to negotiate this part. Yes. Very good. Now, team A is team B and team B is team A. Now, you all know what you have against each other, and now you negotiate, and now you will talk about how you negotiate. So, we were like, there's nothing left to talk because everything you have prepared for the entire day, the other person knows. So this is what is different. And at the end of the day, we asked our professor, how do you actually think is going to solve this problem? Because now there's nothing to talk about. So he said the art of negotiation is not your content. It is your confidence and convincing power that has to come. It really does not matter what is your problem in life, where you are, what is the situation. Negotiation means it is your convincing, your ability and what you do. No matter of notes that you have can convince somebody about anything if you yourself are not. So it was as simple as that. So this is what is different. But how did this become different? Because they experimented, they tried. My father used to tell me when I got associated with the ministry and all these things. So my father keeps telling me, अरे देखो पता है कि जो लोग ना फेल हो जाते हैं ना उनको प्रोफेसर बना देते हैं। I think बना क्या कर रहे हो? नहीं जो रिसर्च वगैरह में लग जाते हैं ना वो कुछ कर नहीं पाते हैं, इंडस्ट्री में फेल हो जाते हैं तब वो रिसर्च करने लग जाते हैं। So I was like, no, it is not that important, the other way around. It is that because we fail, you are industrialists and you do the things what we are trying for. So it's the perspective that makes all the difference. Because there is no right side, there is no wrong side. But so we have seen phones, mobile phones, dial phones, touch phones, satellite phones, everything in our generation. Please realize that education is also changing at a similar pace. Educators also need to change at similar pace. It cannot be that hey, हम इतने साल से things are changing very fast. Digital communication has gone to the villages. वहाँ पे लाइट नहीं है लेकिन लोग सोलर पैनल लगा के टीचर्स पढ़ा रहे हैं जिनको पढ़ाना है। We are extreme examples. I'm not talking about the negative ones. I'm talking about the good ones. A teacher when he wants to teach, yes, money is necessary. I'm not saying that because times have changed. घर भी सबको चलाना होता है, institution चलानी होती है, so that is equally important. But that is exactly why we need partners. That is exactly why you need to share your resources and to ensure that you bring down the cost and you maximize your profits as an institution also. And if you as a principal can do that for your management, I don't see any problem that the management will have in your experimental ideas. Because it translates to actual things which are shown, the numbers. And then you will have increase in students also. And I'm sure every school wants a waiting list. Not just on admissions, but for the rest of the years. We fail to understand that we have so many vacancies over the period of years from the second grade to the 10th grade because of various reasons. Nobody even thinks about clinical seats. कोई आ गया transfer होके तो आ गया. But why can't we think that we are the best in sports? You have students, you don't have sports facilities, we have sports facilities, transfer that student to us. Why can't we work on collaborating in such things? And this is what works. And I'm not saying that pure transfer. Have a revenue share arrangement. Today, Indian schools and colleges and foreign schools and colleges are having joint programs, joint certifications. Why can't we do it in the same city? Because we haven't tried. We can have revenue sharing among the fees. We can have joint collaboration. These things work. If it works internationally, today the world has become very small. Why should only a Harvard work with a Cambridge or a Cambridge work with IIT? Why can't a school in Mohali work with a school in Chandigarh? Why not? And this is something that matters. And at the end of the day, we have to realize that today we live in a corporatized world. So schools, educational institutions should go to the industry, should work with them. They have a lot of CSR funds. Utilize those for the implementation in your schools. Let it be for sports, infrastructure facilities. Why should you always go to the management to say, hey, हमारे को नया playground चाहिए, 20 साल से हम वही equipment use कर रहे हैं. Why can't you go to any company that is in your area and say, hey, we are in your school, we put up a board outside saying that you are sponsored the sports equipment. Then we have to do it. These figures are very small for a company. For an educational institution, these amounts are bigger. But when you talk about a company, you talk about a corporate, a few thousand rupees, a few lakh rupees won't make much of a difference. They get the publicity, especially B2C kind of companies. जिसको consumer benefit भी चाहिए होता है, जिसको चाहिए कि हाँ मेरा नाम होना चाहिए. Telecom companies, banks for that matter. You go to your local bank branch where you are having your own accounts. Tell them कि भाई आपका marketing कौन देखता है? Every branch has a 20-25,000 marketing budget to implement in a local area. Why can't we call them once in 3 months? They have a monthly budget, but अगर वहाँ 4 स्कूल है तो आप 4 बार बोलोगे भाई हर महीने तो एक करता है. Take 25,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees. That over a period of a year it becomes a lot of money. And not only money, it can come. They can give you the industry partners that are banking with them. Those managers or those branch managers will help you say that अरे ये company ये बनाती है, why don't you ask them to sponsor that? We do not open up these avenues for ourselves. I'll give you a classic example again. 25, 27 years ago, I was studying in Amsterdam. Manpreet, I was explaining this to you also. So, I was doing my chemical engineering from University of Amsterdam. They had a fixed tie-up since a decade in those days with Shell, which was an oil and gas company. They used to by default give all their problem statements to this university. But all the students have to work on their problems. In initial, they'll have factory visits, they'll come and they'll see what you can do, what you can do. Every month, these students used to go to this university, industry people used to come to the university, they used to have an engagement, we are having this problem. Choti problem भी that Shell used to discuss with the students. कि भाई हमारा आदमी यहाँ से वहाँ जाने में 20 मिनट लगाता है, यहाँ से 15 मिनट में पहुँच जाता है, जबकि लंबा रास्ता है. As simple as these kind of problems they used to give, but that used to optimize their working savings in millions, which the company realized, and the educational institute was taking a lot of benefit from that. That is the reason I said this industry academic collaboration under NEP 2020 is very important. All these colleges have started taking on board industry representatives, calling them once in a month and talking to the students. कुछ मत करो, खाली मेरे से लोगों को बुलाओ और छोड़ो, बच्चों से बात करो, that's it. Half the students will say, "अरे क्या पढ़ा?" The other half will listen. That is enough. Even 100 listen is more than enough. Because at the end of the day, he might not listen to me, but when he talks to 4 of his friends, that works. And it is that what we should target. You know, at that age, you cannot convince a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old to sit here for 2 hours and listen to what you have to say. He will close, after 10 minutes, his attention span is gone. He is lost in his own world and he is sitting there, but there is no use. So when you want to convey something, you have to do it in 5 or 10 minutes with your students and to ensure that it hits. So what we talk as educators has become more important than what the students are doing. And their peer system is more important to them at that age than what their parents or teachers tell us. In fact, teachers have a better influence than the parents because they spend more time with you than the parents in today's time especially. बच्चा घर पे तो 1 घंटा या 1.5 घंटा ही पेरेंट्स के साथ रहता है. Otherwise, they are doing their homework or doing something more. Parents are busy on their phones. So the net time that any child is getting with the parent is 1 to 1.5 hours in 24 hours. But 8 to 10 hours is there in your school, without any distractions, without any phone or nothing. And when your teacher what is going to do. So we should have a civic system. We should have something that looks after, and anything that you need. Any support that you need from the ministry, from me personally, let it be in-house systems, the Anuvadini project, or extracurricular activities. You want access to industries because I mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, which is international. It is present in 42 countries, 14 states in India. Any kind of connection, content, descriptions, how to go about it, who to speak in the ministry, which board, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed an informative session. Though I am not running in school, but I did get a lot of advices from you. That was very beneficial. So we extend our sincerest thanks to our Chief Guest, Dr. Manpreet Singh, sir, for sharing his vision and perspective on Indian knowledge system. We are privileged to have you here, sir. As a gesture of our deepest gratitude, I request the pleasure of Mr. Manpreet, sir, to please join us on stage to felicitate sir, recognizing his remarkable impact on education and expressing our appreciation for his presence at this summit. Once again,